And now we'll be moving on to Jan Rippingale, the CEO of Blu Banyan. Jan will be sharing with us her presentation on how harmonizing accounting and service data saves time, money, and headache. So whenever you're ready, Jan.
Hello, everybody. I am going to be sharing with you some of our secret sauce in what we've done to harmonize data. And I am hoping that this will result in Pablo and other people having much easier time doing their calculations as we move forward. So what is data harmonization? So it's the process of bringing together all sorts of data from varying file formats and naming conventions, columns, and transforming it into a single cohesive data set like the IRENA database. And by harmonizing, you're able to compare apples to apples data, so you've got it in the right format so you can do proper analysis. And as we look at distributed systems and work together, we are going to need to harmonize our data as a community to get more solar deployed faster. So when we do harmonize the data, there are several collective benefits that we all get. The biggest one that matters right now is that capital can be allocated because you can automate your risk assessment. So as you go through and do distributed systems, one of the main reasons you have such a variety of different sources for the smaller residential and smaller commercial systems of funding, and the cost of that funding is actually quite high. The reasons that you've got that huge variety is that how you assess the risk on every single system is as varied as there are solar installers out there in the universe right now. And so as we mature globally, being able to assess this risk across these distributed systems in a way that is consistent from the smallest to the utility scale system is how we're going to be able to leverage and demonstrate that we're capable of managing the capital. This will help us scale because we'll have data clarity, and we'll be able to do it faster because we'll be saving time, reducing errors, and lowering costs. And as a resident of California with a fire to the north and a fire to the east of me, I am very motivated to get us into deploying these renewables faster. So this is the common hairball, similar kind of setup and view of the world as Leon was showing us earlier. And when you've got this kind of hairball system, you've got all of these different challenges, which are often considered just a part of daily life for solar installers and developers who are managing these assets. When you harmonize the data, you can bring it into a coherent system so that the project management events, like when you need to trigger service and those kinds of things, are directly tied to the accounting. So you've got the financial and cost accounting systems that are going on, as well as inventory you need, third-party integrations. All of these things can come together coherently to give you the experience of a single source of truth. So this single source of truth experience comes from harmonizing your data. These are some examples of what people are saying, where they're saving time from administrative and accounting teams, and with the same number of people, they're able to work many more systems, and it's more reliable and less stressful than a million different spreadsheets, which is absolutely the norm for how things are managed right now. And then here's an example of financial close of Norwich Solar Technologies, who are using, who have several larger scale systems, and they're able to consolidate them easily. So it has a big immediate impact and benefit in addition to these longer term collective benefits that I'm going to be discussing. So this hairball management of the data is actually the biggest barrier we have to large capital allocations. And so we need to automate this risk assessment. The largest banks have told me flat out that the market's not tolerant of widespread unknown risk, especially since 2008, where we had widespread risk systemically. So the market is aware, the capital markets are aware that we cannot have these shortcomings and not know how to address them. And the Department of Energy has started the Orange Button Initiative in response to this. And one of the key insights about this, about how we're going to be able to harmonize this data, is using what is called this pattern of primitives. And I'm going to show you what this means, because while it is a simple pattern, when it is deployed at scale and used throughout the system, it fully describes each data element and harmonizes that data and gives us tremendous power collectively to be able to work together and cooperate. To give you an example and make it a little less theoretical, I'm going to look at the energy model object versus the energy production data object. So the entire Orange Button, in case you haven't heard of it, is meant to collect and report project data and it contributes to reduce soft costs. So this is contributing up to 30% of the solar project costs, and it makes the data exchange more expensive than the hardware. So the benefits that are intended are that we would have accessible project data, lower project costs, and extensible new technologies. You can be the judge of how close we are to that. Okay, this is the key insight that we are pulling from financial markets using XBRL. The XBRL technology and this pattern of primitives is what is used for all of the SEC to receive all the publicly traded financial data for all publicly traded companies. And this simple pattern with these 6 elements: value of the data, the unit that the data is in, start time and end date of the data, and then either decimals or precision. You wouldn't need both. These value of primitives is the key to being able, making us possible for us to operate on the same basis and work together. In the XBRL lingo, they call this tagging, where you take not just the value, but you add your units. And it took 15 years to fully adopt it with all publicly traded companies. We are at year 6 and counting, but I certainly hope that we can adopt this more quickly. So here's an example. Here's the energy model data and the energy production data. And what I'd like to show you is energy model's got some extra fields up here on the top, all based on the site ID. But the foundation is based on the energy AC with these primitives that support and fully describe this data element. That exact term, energy AC, is used over here on energy production. So for everybody who's been working in spreadsheets for decades, you can see that this begins to give you the power for what you need to normalize the data. So this is an example of how you can look at the energy model data, and you can see the units that it's in, the start time, the exact time zone, and that it's got 2 decimals are used here, and the energy production data. And if all of our data came in fully described this way, can you imagine how easy it would be to analyze all of these different areas and use our collective creativity to optimize these areas for improvement? With this, we have started to deploy across multiple software vendors. So these are the third-party integrations that Blu Banyan has integrated with so far, and the ones that are starting to adopt the Orange Button API standard. These are the companies that are using this software. And so it is getting bigger as we move forward, and it accounts for a significant portion of the US market at this stage. So the key takeaways I'd like you to leave with are that harmonizing data breaks our barrier to capital allocation, scalability, because we have to have that data clarity, and rapid deployment so we can do this more quickly. Of course, I would like you to call and find out more about SolarSuccess if that looks interesting to you at all. And we're actively working with the Orange Button Working Group. And if you would like to participate in defining or utilizing any of these terms and this standard, developments so that we can get it out to the industry more quickly, please contact us and let us know.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, Jan. That was great.